So we're on episode 3. Just as a recap, since episode 1, we have placed a machine. I have one machine placed in the Tampa Bay area. It's in a local motel. I've been servicing it for about almost a month now. It's been fully operational for about 10 days, maybe 10, 12 days, but it's been in location for about 3 weeks. So we're fully operational now. My next video is going to be about what are my top sellers, what am I seeing in my products, what's going during certain times of the week, what's not. And then I'm going to go over my first month sales too, so you guys can see what type of money I'm making this year, and then what we projected to do over the next year if I were to stay at one machine. So that's next week video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share this, do whatever you got to do. Stay tuned for next week because I'll be sharing my sales with you guys. I want you to see what the numbers are looking like. I've actually already been out to restock it once. I've done a full clean walkthrough of what my checkup process is. I'll actually post a more in-depth video later on how I service my machines, how I keep track of everything, really what my day-to-day operations is. But let's get into these 5 lessons. I want to share with you guys what's been going on. So no further ado, my top 5 biggest lessons that I've learned so far. Number 1, this is huge. Ask a lot of questions before you buy the machine. Do a full walkthrough, test it, ask them, hey, what does the startup sequence look like? When I plug this thing in, what is supposed to happen? And then plug it in and see what it's actually doing. Vend it, test every single column, every single button, buy things with the dollar, buy things with cash, but ask a lot of questions. Has it been through any repairs? Has there been any issues with the machine? Why are you selling the machine? What's the capacity? Does this plug into a 110? Is it credit card accessible? These are all questions you have to ask because you want to make sure that once you pay the money for this humongous machine and you move it to your location, you won't have any issues that pop up out of nowhere. You want to be as prepared as possible. When you get in these positions where you're spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 on a machine, you want to ask every single possible question up front. You are the one purchasing this machine. A lot of times we purchase these things cash. So make sure you get an invoice or some sort of receipt with a written sale agreement that has everything written out of how much is being paid, who is the seller, who is the buyer. You want all this stuff written out. You might even want to get into writing what the history of the machine is. You want to cover yourself as much as possible, and this is step 1. So my number 2, second biggest lesson is take as many pictures of the location as possible. You want to be able to take pictures of where foot traffic is coming from, so the entries and exit points, where a lot of the customers are at, where a lot of the employees are at. Specifically to the machine, you want to take pictures of the area in which you have to move the machine through. You definitely want to make sure that that machine can fit through the doorways, can fit through any corridors or hallways that you have to move it through to get it set up. And then you want to make sure that the outlet for the machine is 110. You want to make sure it's accessible for the machine. It's not going to short out once you plug it in. So take pictures of those walkways, take pictures of the foot traffic areas, take pictures of where the machine's going to be. You want to make sure it fits and it's operational in that specific spot. So take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. You will never be upset with taking too many pictures. All you got to do is delete a few, but you will be upset if you don't take enough and you end up having to go back out to the location again to see what the dimensions are. My third biggest lesson, and this one is more about cost and expenses, but the card reader is not 100% necessary. The location I have now, while it does have some credit card sales and the credit card reader allows me to track inventory from my home, I'm not entirely sure that it's boosting sales enough to justify the $350 purchase, right? If you put that on there, you want the card reader to generate enough business that it pays itself back over a period of time. With the current way things are moving with my sales, it doesn't seem necessary for this location. So I'm not saying the credit card reader is not necessary, but you definitely want to kind of judge the foot traffic of the area, take into account different factors, and add some context to where you're putting this machine because the card reader may not be necessary and it might not be something you have to spend $350 to not only buy, but maybe even some more money to install and get up and running. So that does eat into the profit margins. That's something you want to consider, right? So let's recap before we get to the final 2 lessons. Number 1 lesson, ask as many questions as possible about the machine. Number 2, take pictures and measure. I didn't say that before, but definitely measure the dimensions of where the machine is moving through. So number 2, take pictures, take measurements. And number three, definitely assess the full needs of your expenses and the costs and equipment that you're going to put in, specifically the card reader. Assess if it's necessary. I would definitely suggest getting a card reader for the first location so you can test it out. I mean, if it doesn't work out, all you have to do is uninstall it and put it in another spot. But I would definitely look into it and see if it's something that I really need to put into this location. Is it really necessary? So the fourth biggest lesson, and this is number 4 because I haven't had a lot of experience with the marketing aspect of the business. I only have one location and I haven't done a lot of shopping around for a second location, but I have done a lot of door-to-door pitching in the beginning part of my process. So I have some experience with it. But the fourth biggest lesson is door-to-door marketing can be difficult without the proper branding. When you're going door-to-door, it's definitely easier to get a yes, but you want to position yourself to get a yes. If you're coming in there with a t-shirt, no polo, no branding, no paperwork, no proposal, no business cards, it's going to be hard to approach these big ticket locations like a car dealership, like a hotel, if you don't have the proper branding. That's why I went out and did all the Garner Commercial Services branding, because I realized I was having a hard time pitching my service when I was going door to door. So this isn't 100% essential. I told you guys in the last video, I got my first location actually off a Facebook Marketplace ad. So it's not necessary to really learn this lesson just yet. But if you do want to catch the big fish, I would definitely say having business cards, having a website, or even having, some sort of packet or proposal or a polo, something that resembles an established brand makes that conversation so much easier. Lesson there with lesson number 4 is explore branding options if you're going to go door to door. I think it makes your life easier. I'll be updating you guys on how my things are going with my marketing as I start to grow and add another location. The 5th lesson is super important. It honestly should be the first lesson, because as you begin to grow, you're going to need to put this in every aspect of the business. But the 5th lesson, and I definitely want you to learn this one, is document everything. Conversations, contracts, if you have some text message conversations, contracts, sales, inventory, everything. If you have a receipt, if you have an invoice, especially stuff you paid cash for, take pictures of it, document it, use Google Drive and get organized. Use something that you can, compartmentalize by month so you can track your expenses, track your sales, but keep track of everything. Because this business is so cash heavy, you won't have an interface to use that's going to tell you this is what came in and this is what went out this month. Keep track of everything. And when it comes to relationships in business, you want to have everything in writing. Your contract for the location, your inventory list that you picked out, sales conversations that you might have had, any sort of pitch conversations you might have had, anything that can be documented, document it. It's going to save you a lot of trouble in the long run if there's any legal issues, or if you get into a dispute with the owner of the location that you're putting up your machine at. So you definitely just want to be careful there. You want to document everything. It's going to cover you in the long run. So those are the 5 biggest lessons. Number 1, ask a lot of questions before you purchase a machine. Know that machine in and out before you even hand over any money for it. Second, make sure you're taking pictures of the location. Make sure you're taking measurements of the location. Number 3, the card reader is not 100% essential. If you're going to get set up, you don't specifically need to buy it to get set up, but it's a great thing to have. Number 4, door-to-door can be difficult to pitch without the proper branding materials. Number 5, document everything, every conversation, receipt, transaction, sales, whatever you can put on paper, put it on paper. It's good to have for your records, and it helps you maintain a legitimate business. We don't want this to be a hustle that we're just kind of flipping through. We want this to be a business that we can grow and scale. So set up your processes and documentation in place so you can do that. So that's it, guys. That's the 5 biggest lessons that I've learned so far. Subscribe and share this video for anybody who might want to learn the vending business, but also wants to learn the mindset behind being a serial entrepreneur, setting up different businesses, setting up different systems. So definitely like and share, definitely subscribe. Stay tuned for next week, because I'll be posting sales and what I'm doing with my inventory so you guys can see the actual money flow of the business. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever. I'll see you guys next week.